The night sky over the Gulf turned tense and electric as one of the most dramatic moments of the escalating Middle East conflict unfolded. Radar screens lit up across naval command centers. Sirens echoed through American warships stationed in the region. And then the announcement came from Tehran that would send shockwaves across the world. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps declared that it had launched a direct missile strike on one of the most powerful symbols of American military strength, the U.S. aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln. The claim landed like thunder across global headlines. According to Iranian state media and IRGC statements, multiple ballistic missiles had been fired toward the massive U.S. carrier operating in the Gulf, part of a sweeping retaliation campaign following the death of Iran's supreme leader in earlier U.S.-Israel strikes. The world watched in disbelief as the possibility of a direct strike on an American aircraft carrier, something rarely seen in modern history, became the center of a rapidly escalating global crisis. In those first moments, confusion and urgency spread across military and political circles. Reports from Iranian sources claimed that 4 ballistic missiles had been launched toward the USS Abraham Lincoln as part of what Tehran described as a broader retaliation campaign against U.S. and Israeli forces in the region. Iranian officials warned that both land and sea would become a graveyard for what they called aggressors, signaling a willingness to expand the confrontation beyond land-based targets. Before we go deeper into how this dramatic confrontation unfolded and what it means for the future of the Middle East and global security, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe so you stay informed as this crisis continues to develop. The USS Abraham Lincoln is no ordinary warship. Stretching more than 300 meters and carrying dozens of advanced fighter jets, it represents one of the most formidable naval assets in the United States arsenal. Nuclear-powered and capable of projecting power across vast distances, the carrier serves as a floating air base and command center, symbolizing American military reach and strategic dominance in critical regions. It had been deployed to the Gulf as tensions with Iran escalated, forming part of a powerful naval presence intended to deter conflict and support operations alongside allies. Yet in the volatile environment that followed the death of Iran's top leader, deterrence gave way to confrontation. Iranian officials framed the missile launch as part of Operation True Promise 4, a broader campaign aimed at what they described as defending Iranian sovereignty and responding to the killing of their supreme leader. In statements carried by state media, the IRGC asserted that the missiles had struck the carrier, declaring the attack a direct message to Washington and its allies. Within minutes of those claims, global attention shifted to the U.S. response. American military officials moved quickly to assess the situation and reassure both domestic and international audiences. U.S. Central Command stated that the USS Abraham Lincoln had not been hit and that the missiles launched by Iran had either been intercepted or had not come close to striking the carrier. According to Pentagon officials, the massive warship remained fully operational, continuing its mission in the region despite the heightened tensions. The conflicting narratives, Iran claiming a successful strike and the United States denying any damage, created an atmosphere of uncertainty that fueled global anxiety. For many observers, the mere fact that ballistic missiles had been launched toward a U.S. aircraft carrier marked a dangerous escalation, regardless of whether they reached their target. The incident underscored how quickly the confrontation between Iran, the United States, and Israel had moved from covert operations and regional skirmishes to direct and highly visible military actions involving some of the most advanced weapons systems in the world. Behind the scenes, military analysts began evaluating what such an attack could mean if confirmed. A successful strike on a U.S. aircraft carrier would represent an unprecedented moment in modern naval warfare, potentially triggering massive retaliation, and a broader regional conflict. Even without confirmed damage, the attempted strike signaled that Iran was willing to challenge American naval dominance in a way rarely seen before. The timing of the missile launch added to its significance. It came amid a wider wave of Iranian retaliation that included missile and drone strikes targeting U.S. bases and allied locations across the Middle East. Reports indicated that Iran had launched attacks toward multiple countries hosting American forces, from Gulf states to areas closer to Israel. These coordinated actions reflected a strategy aimed at demonstrating both capability and resolve in the wake of leadership losses and ongoing military pressure. For the crew aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln, the reported attack marked one of the most intense moments of their deployment. Operating in a region already on edge, sailors and aviators found themselves at the center of a rapidly unfolding confrontation. Defense systems remained on high alert as radar tracked potential threats, and command teams maintained constant communication with regional allies and headquarters in Washington. The stakes were unmistakably high. Any confirmed damage or casualties could have triggered a chain reaction with unpredictable consequences. On land, governments across the Middle East reacted swiftly. Some nations activated air defense systems and heightened security around key infrastructure, fearing that the conflict could expand further. Airlines rerouted flights away from potential conflict zones, and global markets reacted nervously as investors assessed the risk of prolonged instability in a region central to global energy supplies and trade routes. International leaders issued urgent calls for restraint, urging all parties to avoid further escalation. Yet the rhetoric from both sides remained tense. Iranian officials continued to assert that their retaliation was justified and would continue if attacks on their territory or leadership persisted. Meanwhile, U.S. officials emphasized that any direct attack on American forces or assets would be met with a decisive response. The possibility of miscalculation loomed large. Military confrontations involving advanced weapons and rapid decision-making carry inherent risks, and the presence of multiple armed forces operating in close proximity increases the potential for unintended escalation. Analysts warned that even a minor incident could spiral into a broader conflict if communication channels failed or if leaders misinterpreted actions on the ground. At the same time, diplomatic efforts continued behind the scenes. While public statements focused on strength and deterrence, quiet negotiations and back-channel communications sought to prevent the situation from spiraling out of control. The challenge lay in balancing the need for deterrence with the imperative to avoid a conflict that could engulf the entire region. For ordinary people watching from around the world, the reported missile launch toward the USS Abraham Lincoln served as a stark reminder of how quickly geopolitical tensions can escalate into direct confrontation. Images of aircraft carriers, missile launches, and defense systems dominated news broadcasts and social media feeds, creating a sense of immediacy and uncertainty that transcended national borders. As hours turned into days, the narrative continued to evolve. The United States maintained that its carrier remained unharmed and operational, while Iran stood by its claims of a successful strike. In the absence of independent confirmation of damage, the truth of the incident remained contested. But its significance was undeniable. The attempted strike had pushed the conflict into new and dangerous territory, demonstrating both the capabilities and the risks inherent in the unfolding confrontation. The broader implications of this moment extend far beyond a single missile launch. They touch on questions of deterrence, military strategy, and the fragile balance of power in one of the world's most strategically important regions. Whether this incident becomes a turning point toward de-escalation or a stepping stone toward further conflict will depend on the choices made by leaders in the days and weeks ahead. For now, the USS Abraham Lincoln continues its mission in contested waters, a symbol of American military presence and a focal point of global attention. Iran's claims and America's denials have created a narrative of tension that underscores the volatility of the current moment. The world watches closely, aware that each new development carries the potential to reshape the trajectory of the conflict and the future of regional and global security. As the situation continues to unfold, one thing is certain: the reported strike on the USS Abraham Lincoln has become one of the defining moments of this escalating crisis. It represents not just a military incident, but a powerful symbol of how quickly the world can move from uneasy peace to the brink of wider confrontation. And as governments, militaries, and citizens alike brace for what may come next, the story of this dramatic encounter remains far from over.